When you get into a situation like this where for months and months and months of being under quarantine and trying to figure out what we're doing with our lives, people that work on projects like this, having to sit and not do it for extended periods of time like this is hard on all of us. Because it's not just what we love to do and it's not just our passion, it's the way we keep our sanity. It's the way we are able to cope with the rest of the world, as terrible as it can be sometimes. It's the way we really just connect with everyone else and connect with the world. So being back on a set, no matter how small it was or how quick of a project this was going to be, just being back on set just breathes like a breath of fresh air. It's breathes life back into you. It makes you realize how passionate you are about it and how much you love it, and it really brings back everything that made you want to become a filmmaker.
Normally, like, we do this stuff all the time, and so, like, having not done it for forever, it was almost like I forgot about that part of myself for a second. So when we got to, like, just meet up and act and even talk about the project, I just felt like myself again, to even have that creative outlet.
I love the feeling of doing something creatively that later on somebody will look upon and hopefully change their life forever or something. And I'll be a part of that. It's kind of a cool thing.
It feels so good to be back on a set. For me, it's literally like oxygen. I need it to breathe. I need to be working on a set, even if it's standing there and waiting for the perfect lighting setup, or, you know, it's being with those creative people and, you know, bouncing these ideas off of each other, or laughing and having a good time because something funny happened, and just being able to take and make something that people will hopefully like. Being able to find a way that we were able to safely do it was just a breath of fresh air.
Favorite memory from this shoot was easily
Filming on the bridge, Elise had fallen
into a hole.
We're discussing the shot. We've kind of got the actors kind of placed about where we want. So we're walking down the bridge. I'm kind of leading. We're kind of planning the shot. And Elise was behind me with the Steadicam rig on, holding the camera. All of a sudden I realize I'm walking and Elise isn't still behind me.
We're walking across this bridge and there's leaves. And I was like, this is great. We're going to get a really good shot. And then all of a sudden I like step and my foot starts to slide, and so I stop and it just kept going and going. And I'm like, I don't know how big a hole this is.
Turn around and I see Elise. She stopped moving and I couldn't exactly figure out what's going on. And then all of a sudden I see her start to slowly sink, and it's just sinking and sinking and sinking. And I'm like, what's going on?
She's such a badass that she didn't say anything and just like slowly controlled herself to the point that I didn't think anything was wrong.
Then I'm like slowly descending to the ground, and I'm like, when I realize, I'm like, I don't know how big this hole is. I need to lift the camera up for somebody to take, even though it's strapped to my body.
I'm not totally sure, but all of a sudden I see a distinct look of panic and fear in her face as her eyes widen, where you can like just see where it's like her face becomes almost all eyes. And then all of a sudden I see her taking the Steadicam camera and trying to push it like away from her, which in my mind triggers and realize I'm like, she's falling. I'm not sure what's going on, but I thought, like, didn't have any idea what was going on, but I'm like, she is falling. Something is going on.
And then that's when Phil steps in and grabs the camera and me.
What also was comical was the fact that Phil did notice, didn't ask her how she was or anything like that. Saved the camera first and dealt with seeing if she's okay later.
So being a filmmaker and a very low budget indie filmmaker, we've really learned that the most important thing on something is the equipment. So protect the equipment first, then protect the crew. All of the crew is kind of like that. So even Elise didn't panic about herself. It was like, save the camera. But the camera is attached to Elise. So at this point, we're like, oh crap, this could go really bad. So I run over, I put a hand on the camera so it's not falling before, make sure that that's secure. And then I grab Elise under her arm and start pulling her up.
And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, there's a hole in my foot, isn't it?
The hole was probably about that big, and her foot was just slowly sinking through it. So she wasn't gonna fall all the way through the bridge, but it was all covered in leaves, and we literally could not tell how big it was or if she was gonna fall. So there's a mild degree of panic. So first reaction, save the camera. Second reaction, save Elise. Third reaction after we pulled her out of the hole was, damn it, why did I not get a picture of her stuck in a hole?